Because if morning comes, I don't want you remembering me. Emily Carter froze with the damp cloth pressed against his shoulder, unsure whether the warning was meant to protect her or him. Rain hammered the windows of the roadside inn, turning the world beyond the glass into streaks of silver and black. The storm had swallowed the highway through Silver Creek nearly 2 hours earlier, leaving fallen branches across the road and forcing every traveler within miles to seek shelter. Emily had arrived with one suitcase, $43 in her wallet, and nowhere she could honestly call home. The stranger had arrived 10 minutes later, soaked through, exhausted, and carrying himself like a man who had forgotten how to ask anyone for help. She should have stayed away from him. Everything about him suggested secrets. His dark coat was too finely made for a drifter, his boots too expensive, his posture too controlled. Even sitting beside the small fireplace, with rainwater dripping from his black hair, he somehow made the cramped room feel smaller. Yet when Emily had noticed the torn fabric near his shoulder, instinct had defeated caution. She had spent most of her life being told that an Omega's softness was weakness. Tonight, softness was the only thing she had left. "Hold still," she murmured. His silver-gray eyes lifted to hers. They were startling eyes, cold at first glance, but tired underneath. "You always help strangers?" he asked. "Only the ones stubborn enough to pretend they don't need it." Something almost like a smile touched his mouth. Almost. Emily looked down before he could notice the warmth rising into her cheeks. "Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. If you believe that kindness is power, hit like and subscribe. These stories remind us, love redeems the broken. Now back to Emily. She rinsed the cloth in a bowl of warm water and tried not to think about the strange pull she had felt from the moment he'd crossed the inn's doorway. Her wolf had been nearly silent for years, little more than a distant heartbeat inside her, yet around this man it stirred uneasily, as though recognizing a song Emily herself had never heard. That frightened her more than his silence. "What about you?" he asked. "What about me? You're traveling alone in weather that shut down half the county." Emily's fingers stopped. Beyond the window, lightning briefly illuminated the empty parking lot and the old pine trees bending beneath the wind. She could still hear the words spoken to her that afternoon. Unwanted. Weak. Burden. She pushed them down where she'd learned to keep everything that hurt. "Maybe I'm running away." The stranger studied her. From someone. From somewhere. His expression changed then, barely enough to notice. Recognition, perhaps. "I understand that." Emily gave a quiet laugh, without humor. "Do you?" He looked toward the fire. For several seconds, neither spoke. Thunder rolled across the mountains. "More than you know," he finally said. She should have asked what he meant. Instead, Emily noticed his hand resting near hers on the edge of the table, close enough that she could feel warmth without touching him. Two strangers. Two unfinished stories. One storm keeping the rest of the world outside. "Emily," she whispered. His gaze returned sharply to her. "You said no names." "You did." "I didn't." For the first time, he smiled for real, and something inside her chest tightened unexpectedly. "Then call me Alex." She didn't know it wasn't the whole truth. She didn't know men bowed when he entered a room, or that entire packs waited for his command. She knew only the tired stranger sitting beside her while midnight approached. And she could not possibly know that before sunrise, this nameless night would become the secret that changed both their lives for the next 7 years. Emily had learned early that leaving quietly hurt less than being told to leave. By 19, she knew how to fold her life into a single suitcase, how to keep her eyes lowered when stronger wolves whispered about her, and how to smile as though every cruel word had missed its mark. But that afternoon at Silver Creek Pack, there had been nowhere left to hide. The meeting hall had smelled of cedar smoke and rain when her uncle placed her small envelope of savings on the table and told her it was time to find somewhere else to live. He never raised his voice. Somehow, that made it worse. Emily had spent years making herself useful after her parents were gone, helping in the kitchen, caring for younger pack members, preparing herbs for elderly wolves whose hands shook too badly to do it themselves. None of it changed what the pack saw when they looked at her. An Omega with a wolf so faint that some doubted it existed at all. A young woman without rank, influence, or a powerful family willing to speak for her. She remembered standing beside that table while half a dozen people avoided her eyes. Nobody stopped her when she picked up her suitcase. Nobody followed when she walked through the gates. By sunset, Silver Creek had disappeared behind miles of wet highway, and Emily had promised herself she would never beg anyone to let her belong again. Now, sitting across from Alex in the dim warmth of the roadside inn, she wondered why that promise suddenly felt harder to keep. He had stopped asking questions, but she could feel his attention whenever she moved. It was not pity. Emily knew pity well. Pity softened voices and made people look away. Alex watched her as though he were trying to understand something that did not fit what he expected. "You are cold," he said. Emily glanced toward the fireplace. "I am fine." "That was not what I said." Before she could answer, he removed his dry outer coat from the back of his chair and placed it beside her. He did not insist that she wear it. He simply left it within reach. The gesture unsettled her because it demanded nothing. After a moment, Emily pulled the coat around her shoulders. It smelled faintly of pine, winter air, and something she could not name. Her sleeping wolf stirred again. Emily went still. There it was, that strange warmth beneath her ribs. Alex noticed. "What happened?" "Nothing." His silver-gray eyes narrowed slightly. Emily concentrated on the fire. "Your turn," she said. "My turn for what?" "You know why I am traveling." "Sort of." "Why are you?" His gaze shifted toward the rain-darkened window. "Obligation. That sounds mysterious." "It is mostly exhausting." Emily smiled despite herself. "Family." Alex was silent long enough to answer without answering. "Something like that." A heavy rumble of thunder rolled beyond the walls. The lights flickered once, then went dark. Emily inhaled sharply. Only the fireplace remained, painting amber shadows across the room. Somewhere downstairs, the innkeeper called that the power would return when the storm passed. Alex rose immediately. For a supposedly exhausted traveler, he moved with remarkable balance, scanning the room and windows before looking back at her. Not panic. Habit. Emily noticed it now. The straight shoulders. The measured movements. The way his attention found every entrance without seeming to search. This was not an ordinary traveler. "Who are you?" she asked softly. Alex stopped. For one suspended moment, the warmth disappeared from his expression. Something older and heavier looked through those silver eyes. Then he crossed back toward the fire and sat opposite her. "Tonight," he said. "Just Alex." Emily should have been frightened by the answer. Instead, she understood it. Tonight she did not want to be the unwanted Omega from Silver Creek either. She wanted to be Emily. Nothing more. Outside, the storm erased the road behind them and the road ahead. Inside, two people with reasons to disappear sat quietly beside the same fire, neither realizing how little time remained before the world came looking for one of them. The first thing Emily noticed was not Alex moving closer to the fire. It was the impossible feeling of something inside her moving toward him. Her wolf had been quiet for so long that Emily had almost stopped thinking of it as a living presence. At Silver Creek, young wolves usually began showing clear instincts years before adulthood. They sensed rank, recognized pack bonds, and responded naturally to others of their kind. Emily had spent years waiting for those signs to strengthen. They never had. Her wolf remained a distant warmth buried somewhere beneath her heartbeat, appearing only in brief moments before fading again. Yet now, with Alex sitting 6 feet away in the firelight, that faint presence had awakened. Emily tightened his coat around her shoulders. The sensation came again. Not fear. Recognition. Her breath caught. Alex immediately looked at her. "Emily, I am fine." "You keep saying that." His voice was quiet, but there was something almost amused beneath it. "Maybe you keep asking questions I do not want to answer." "Fair enough." He leaned back, giving her space instead of pressing. That surprised her. Most dominant wolves Emily had known treated silence as resistance. They filled rooms with commands and expected Omegas to obey before understanding why. Alex did the opposite. The quieter Emily became, the more carefully he seemed to listen. That should have made him easier to trust. Somehow, it made him more mysterious. She studied him while pretending to watch the flames. His dark hair had begun to dry, falling loosely across his forehead. His face looked younger without the rain and exhaustion obscuring it, perhaps somewhere near 30, though his eyes seemed older. He carried no visible pack insignia, no family crest, no rank markings. Still, everything about him suggested authority. When the innkeeper entered carrying 2 lanterns, the older man started to speak. then hesitated the instant Alex turned toward him. His shoulders lowered almost instinctively. "Power is still out," the innkeeper said. "Road crews say the bridge about 3 miles east is closed until morning. Nobody is getting through tonight." "Thank you," Alex replied. 2 simple words, spoken without force. Yet the innkeeper nodded as though he had received permission to leave. Emily waited until the door closed. "That was strange." Alex glanced at her. "What was?" "He acted like he knew you." "He does not." "Then why did he look nervous?" A pause. "Maybe I have an unfriendly face." Emily laughed before she could stop herself. The sound surprised both of them. It had been days since she had laughed naturally, perhaps longer. Alex watched her, and the guarded expression around his eyes softened. Emily looked away first. Her wolf stirred again. Stronger. Warmth traveled through her chest like sunlight reaching a room that had been closed for years. She pressed one hand lightly against her ribs. This time Alex noticed exactly where she touched. His expression changed. "Your wolf," he said. Emily stared at him. "How did you know?" Alex became perfectly still. The fire cracked between them. "Guess." That was not a guess. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Emily felt the old instinct telling her to retreat, to make herself smaller, to apologize for asking. She refused it. She had left Silver Creek partly because she was tired of disappearing. "What are you hiding from me, Alex?" His silver-gray eyes held hers. For a moment, she sensed something immense behind his calm, something restrained rather than absent. Her wolf did not retreat from it. She leaned toward it. That frightened Emily most of all. Alex slowly lowered his gaze to his hands. "There are things about my life that become dangerous when strangers know them." "Dangerous for you?" "Sometimes for everyone around me." Emily swallowed. Outside, rain swept against the windows while the wind moved through the pine trees. She should have stood up. She should have returned his coat, taken her suitcase, and locked herself in the small room upstairs until morning. Instead, she asked, "Are you dangerous to me?" Alex looked at her immediately. No. There was no hesitation, no smile, no attempt to charm her, just certainty. Emily believed him before caution could object. That realization unsettled her. "Then I can wait until you are ready to tell me." Something flickered across his face, almost disbelief. "You trust too easily." "No," Emily said softly. "I almost never trust anyone." The words settled between them. Alex looked toward the dark window, but Emily saw his hand tighten once against the arm of the chair. Somewhere beyond the storm, faint enough that she almost mistook it for thunder, came a distant howl. Alex rose instantly. Every trace of weariness vanished. His head turned toward the sound, his body suddenly alert, controlled, unmistakably powerful. Emily's wolf surged awake inside her with such force that she forgot to breathe. Alex looked back at her, and for the first time that night, she saw concern in his eyes. Not for himself. For her. "Stay inside," he said quietly. Emily stared at him. "Why?" Another howl traveled through the storm, closer this time. Alex's expression hardened as he faced the window. "Because someone found me." Alex did not open the door. That frightened Emily more than if he had rushed outside. He stood motionless beside the rain-streaked window, listening while the distant howl dissolved beneath the storm. The fire painted one side of his face gold and left the other in shadow. Every trace of the tired stranger she had met earlier seemed to have vanished. In his place stood someone controlled, watchful, and accustomed to being obeyed. Emily rose slowly from her chair. "You said someone found you." Alex kept his attention on the darkness beyond the glass. "I said stay inside." "That is not an explanation." His eyes shifted toward her. Emily felt the pressure of his attention immediately, but she refused to lower her gaze. She had spent too many years doing that. Something changed in his expression. Not irritation. Respect. "No," he admitted. "It is not." Another howl sounded somewhere beyond the pine trees, followed seconds later by a second call farther west. Emily's wolf stirred beneath her ribs. Strangely, there was no panic in it, only awareness. "Are they looking for you?" she asked. "Yes." "Are they dangerous?" Alex listened for another moment. "Not to you." Emily almost smiled. "You keep saying that. Because that is the part one need you to believe." The inn remained quiet around them. Upstairs, floorboards creaked as stranded travelers settled into their rooms. Downstairs, the innkeeper moved somewhere behind the front desk. Ordinary sounds. Safe sounds. Yet Emily could feel that the night had shifted. Alex finally stepped away from the window. They will not come inside, he said. How can you know? He hesitated. Because they know better. The certainty in those 4 words made Emily stare at him. Alex seemed to realize he had revealed too much. He looked toward the fire. You should get some sleep. And you? I will leave when the road opens. Emily glanced toward the black windows. The bridge is closed. Then I will wait. There it was again. That strange loneliness beneath his calm. For the first time, Emily wondered whether the people searching for him were rescuers or another kind of obligation. You do not want them to find you, she said. Alex gave no answer. Emily returned to her chair. After a moment, he sat across from her again. Midnight passed quietly. They talked without meaning to. Not about names or packs or the things they were hiding. They talked about small things instead. Emily told him she had always wanted to see the Pacific Ocean because she could not imagine standing somewhere the horizon had no trees. Alex confessed that he hated formal dinners and preferred roadside coffee, although Emily laughed when he admitted he took it black and somehow still complained about every cup. He asked what she wanted now that she had left home. The question caught her unprepared. A place where nobody knows what I am supposed to be, she finally said. Alex watched the flames. That sounds expensive. It is free. Then why does nobody have it? Emily smiled sadly. Maybe because people are afraid of starting over. His gaze lifted to hers. Are you terrified? And you left anyway. Nobody had ever made her fears sound like courage before. Emily looked down at her hands. Her wolf had settled into a warm, steady presence, calmer beside him than it had ever been among her own pack. Hours slipped away. The storm softened. Somewhere near 3 in the morning, exhaustion finally caught Emily. Alex noticed her struggling to keep her eyes open and stood. Take the room, he said. What about you? I have slept in worse chairs. That is not reassuring. A quiet laugh escaped him. Upstairs, the innkeeper had given them the last available room because the roof above Alex's original room had begun leaking. It held 1 bed and an old upholstered chair beside another fireplace. Emily stopped at the doorway. You can take the chair if you promise not to disappear before I wake up. Alex's expression became unreadable. Emily. It was a joke, but something about his silence made her wish she had not said it. Inside, they remained on opposite sides of the small room, speaking softly while the final rain tapped against the window. Eventually, Emily fell asleep beneath the quilt, still wearing Alex's coat over her shoulders, while he sat beside the dying fire. Just before sleep carried her completely away, she felt his hand gently pull the coat higher around her. For one impossible second, her wolf seemed to whisper a single word she could not understand. Emily opened her eyes. Alex was looking at her as though he had heard it too. Neither spoke. Outside, the clouds began to break, and somewhere beyond the eastern mountains, dawn was already coming. Emily woke to silence, and before she opened her eyes, she knew Alex was gone. The fireplace had faded to gray embers. Pale morning light slipped through the curtains, touching the wooden floor and the empty chair where he had been sitting only hours earlier. For several seconds, she remained beneath the quilt, listening for footsteps in the hallway, for the low voice she had somehow grown accustomed to during one impossible night. Nothing came. Alex. The name sounded too intimate in the empty room. Emily sat up. His coat was no longer around her shoulders. His travel bag had disappeared. Even the damp boots he had left beside the fireplace were gone. The room looked as though he had carefully removed every sign that he had ever been there. Almost every sign. Something dark rested on the small table near the window. Emily crossed the room and picked it up. A heavy silver signet ring lay against her palm, its face engraved with a black wolf beneath a crescent moon. She had never seen the symbol before, but the craftsmanship was unmistakably expensive. Beside it sat a folded piece of paper. Her pulse quickened. Emily opened it. The message was brief. Morning changes everything. Do not look for me. She read the words twice. Then a third time. The warmth she had carried through the night slowly disappeared. Of course, she had known almost nothing about him. Alex might not even have been his real name. He had warned her that his life contained secrets, and she had chosen to trust him anyway. Still, some foolish part of her had believed his promise to remain until she woke. Emily closed her fingers around the ring. She refused to cry. She had already spent enough of her life grieving people who had decided she was easy to leave behind. Downstairs, the inn smelled of coffee and toasted bread. The storm had passed, leaving the parking lot covered in broken twigs and shining puddles. The innkeeper looked surprised when Emily approached the desk. "Your friend left early," he said. "Did he say where he was going?" The man hesitated. "No, ma'am." Emily noticed the hesitation. "Did someone come for him?" The innkeeper suddenly became interested in arranging the keys behind the counter. "I did not see anything." It was clearly not the truth, but Emily no longer had the strength to chase another person's secrets. By 8 in the morning, the bridge reopened. She boarded a bus heading west with her suitcase beneath her feet and Alex's ring hidden inside her coat pocket. Mile after mile carried her farther from Silver Creek and from the stranger whose silver-gray eyes refused to leave her memory. She eventually reached Cedar Falls, a small mountain town where nobody knew the Carter name and nobody cared that her wolf was quiet. Emily found work at a neighborhood herbal shop, rented a tiny apartment above a bakery, and began building the ordinary life she had once thought impossible. Weeks passed. Then one morning, the smell of coffee made her suddenly nauseated. Emily blamed exhaustion. 3 days later, she could no longer ignore the changes in her body. She sat alone in a small clinic while a nurse spoke gently to her, and the world seemed to narrow around a single truth. Emily was pregnant. Her first thought was Alex. Her second was the note, "Do not look for me." That evening, she sat beside her apartment window with the signet ring resting on the table. Rain moved softly across Cedar Falls, reminding her of another storm in another room. Her hand settled protectively over her stomach. Fear came first. She had little money, no family she could trust, and no way to find the father of her child, even if she decided to try. Then something unexpected stirred inside her. Not her unborn baby, not yet. Her wolf. For the first time since leaving Silver Creek, it rose clearly enough for Emily to feel its certainty. She was not alone anymore. "All right," Emily whispered into the quiet room. "Then we start here." She placed the ring inside a small wooden box and closed the lid. Months later, Emily held a healthy baby boy against her chest and named him Noah Carter. He had her pale complexion and soft dark hair, but when his eyes finally opened fully, Emily forgot how to breathe. They were silver gray, exactly like his father's. Emily kissed Noah's forehead and made herself a promise. Whatever Alex had been running from, whatever secrets had taken him away, Noah would never grow up believing he was unwanted. What Emily could not know was that hundreds of miles away, a powerful man had spent months searching for an Omega named Emily with no last name, no pack, and no trail. And the silver ring locked inside her wooden box was not an ordinary signet. It belonged to a king. 7 years later, Noah Carter could hear the bakery oven timer from half a block away. Emily discovered this on a bright September morning when her son stopped beside the flower boxes outside their apartment and announced that Mrs. Bennett was about to burn the cinnamon rolls again. Emily heard nothing except passing cars, the rustle of maple leaves, and the distant bell above the door of her herbal shop. Then, 20 seconds later, the bakery door flew open and Mrs. Bennett hurried toward the kitchen. Noah looked up at his mother with innocent silver-gray eyes. "See?" Emily forced a smile. "Lucky guess." Noah grinned. "I am lucky a lot." That was exactly the problem. At 7 years old, Noah was healthy, curious, and endlessly kind, but ordinary had never quite fit him. He could recognize someone approaching their apartment before footsteps reached the stairs. Animals trusted him immediately. Once, when a frightened stray dog had hidden beneath a parked truck, Noah simply sat on the sidewalk and spoke softly until the animal crawled toward him. Most unsettling were the moments when he became protective of Emily. His voice changed, not dramatically, but enough that adults sometimes stopped speaking and looked at him as if they had forgotten he was a child. Emily never told Noah why. These things frightened her. She never told him about Silver Creek, or the quiet wolf inside her, or the stranger whose eyes he had inherited. To Noah, his father was simply someone Emily had known long ago. She had promised herself she would explain more when he was older. Every year, that promise became harder to keep. "Mom," Noah tugged gently at her sleeve. "You are doing the thinking thing again." "What thinking thing?" "The one where your face goes somewhere, but the rest of you stays here." Emily laughed and brushed his dark hair away from his forehead. "Come on, Professor. School first." Cedar Falls had been good to them. The mountain town had grown over 7 years, but Main Street still smelled like coffee every morning. Neighbors still waved from porches, and Emily's little herbal shop had become a place people trusted. She made teas, natural soaps, and simple botanical blends, and she listened when customers needed someone to hear them. It was not glamorous. It was hers. More importantly, it was safe. After walking Noah to school, Emily returned to the shop and unlocked the front door. Sunlight stretched across shelves lined with jars of lavender, chamomile, peppermint, and dried elderflower. She was arranging a new shipment when a familiar uneasiness moved beneath her ribs. Her wolf. Emily froze. It had not reacted that strongly in years. Not since the roadside inn. She placed both hands against the counter and waited. The feeling disappeared. Absolutely not, she whispered to herself. She blamed the morning, Noah's strange hearing, and too little sleep. Then the town bell began ringing. Once, twice, 3 times. Emily stepped outside. People were emerging from stores all along Main Street. A police cruiser rolled slowly toward the square, followed by 2 dark vehicles carrying an insignia Emily had never seen displayed publicly in Cedar Falls. A black wolf beneath a crescent moon. Her breath stopped. The same symbol engraved on the ring hidden upstairs in the wooden box she had not opened for years. No, Emily whispered. Around her, conversations fell into startled murmurs. Mrs. Bennet appeared beside the bakery door, flowers still dusting her apron. Royal convoy, she said. They announced it at City Hall this morning. Apparently, there have been strange disturbances along the northern boundary. The Alpha King himself is coming through Cedar Falls. Emily barely heard the rest. Her fingers had gone cold. For 7 years, Alex had existed only in fragments. Silver eyes and firelight. Black coffee. A borrowed coat. A note beside an empty chair. She had built an entire life around never seeing him again. She had succeeded so completely that sometimes she wondered whether that night had been real at all. Then she would look at Noah. A distant engine sounded beyond the square. Emily's wolf surged awake. This time there was no mistaking it. Recognition moved through her body like a bell struck after 7 years of silence. She backed toward the shop door. She needed to get Noah. She needed to leave. She needed 5 minutes to understand why her hands were shaking. But the first black vehicle had already turned onto Main Street. People stepped respectfully aside. Emily stood trapped beneath the autumn sunlight as the convoy stopped less than 50 feet away. The rear door opened. A tall man stepped onto the street wearing a dark formal coat bearing the royal crest. His hair was shorter now. His face carried 7 years of responsibility she did not remember. But his eyes had not changed. Silver gray. Emily forgot the town around her. She forgot how to breathe. Alex lifted his head, and somewhere deep inside her, the wolf that had slept for 7 years whispered recognition. For one suspended second, Emily believed Alex was looking directly at her. Then a city official stepped between them, extending a hand and welcoming the Alpha King to Cedar Falls, and the moment shattered. Emily moved backward until her shoulders touched the frame of her shop door. Around her, people whispered with the nervous excitement reserved for someone they had heard about but never expected to see. Alexander Blackwood. The name traveled through the crowd, and each repetition made Emily's stomach tighten. She had known him only as Alex, a tired stranger with rain in his hair and secrets behind silver-gray eyes. Now men in dark, formal coats stood respectfully several steps behind him, while local officials waited for permission before speaking. Emily remembered the innkeeper lowering his shoulders 7 years ago, because they know better. Alex had told her that when she asked why the wolves outside would not enter. She finally understood. He had not merely belonged to a powerful pack. He had commanded them all. Emily slipped inside the shop before his attention could return to her. Her hands trembled as she reached for her purse. She needed to get Noah from school. Nothing else mattered. The bell above the shop door chimed before she reached the back room. Emily stopped. A royal aide entered, followed by an older city official she recognized as Mayor Collins. "Miss Carter," the mayor asked. Emily forced her breathing steady. "Yes. His Majesty will be meeting local business owners this afternoon. We are asking everyone on Main Street to remain available. I need to pick up my son. School dismissal has been moved up because of the convoy. Children should be released shortly." Her son. The words suddenly seemed enormous. Noah was less than half a mile away. Alex was standing outside. Emily gripped the edge of the counter. "Is everything all right?" the aide asked. "Perfectly." She had become very good at that word. The men left, and Emily immediately reached for her phone. Before she could call the school, voices rose outside. Not alarm. Excitement. Emily stepped toward the window despite every instinct telling her not to. Alex was crossing the square with two advisors beside him. He listened while Mayor Collins spoke, occasionally nodding, but Emily noticed details nobody else would have understood. The slight turn of his head whenever someone approached from behind. The way he scanned doors and rooftops without appearing distracted. The controlled stillness she remembered from the inn. 7 years had changed his clothes, his title, and the weight in his expression. They had not changed him. Then he stopped walking. Emily's wolf surged so suddenly that her knees weakened. Alex turned his head toward the shop. This time there was nobody between them. His gaze found her through the glass. Emily could not move. Confusion appeared first, then recognition. It traveled across his face slowly, almost painfully. His shoulders went rigid. Mayor Collins continued speaking for several seconds before realizing the king was no longer listening. Alex took one step toward the shop. Emily's heart hammered. Another step. 7 years collapsed into firelight and rain. She remembered giving him her first name. She remembered asking him not to disappear. She remembered waking alone. Anger rose beside fear, old and sharp enough to steady her. She would not become 19 again simply because he had returned. The school bell rang in the distance. Emily's blood went cold. Noah. She grabbed her purse and hurried through the rear door, choosing the alley that led toward the elementary school. She had made it less than 100 feet when a voice behind her stopped her. Emily. She closed her eyes. He remembered. Slowly, she turned. Alex stood alone at the mouth of the alley. He had apparently left his entourage behind. For several seconds neither spoke. His face held none of the royal composure he had shown in the square. "It is you," he said. Emily tightened her fingers around her purse strap. "Your Majesty." The title struck something in him. His expression hardened, then softened again. "Do not call me that." "Why? It is who you are. It was who I was then, too. You forgot to mention it." Alex absorbed the accusation without defending himself. His gaze moved across her face as if trying to account for every missing year. "I looked for you." Emily almost laughed. "You left me a note telling me not to look for you." Silence. Not guilt. Confusion. Alex stared at her. "What note?" Emily's breath caught. Before she could answer, footsteps raced into the alley. "Mom." Noah came running around the corner, backpack bouncing against his shoulders. Relief overwhelmed every other thought. Emily crouched and opened her arms. Noah reached her, then noticed the stranger standing several feet away. The boy straightened. Alex went completely still, his eyes fixed on Noah's face, on the dark hair, on the pale complexion, then on the unmistakable silver-gray eyes. Staring back at him, Emily felt the world narrow to 3 people and 7 missing years. Noah moved protectively in front of her. "Who are you?" he asked. Alex did not answer. For the first time since Emily had known him, the Alpha King looked as though he had forgotten how to speak. Noah did not step away from Emily. He planted his sneakers on the wet pavement and looked up at Alex with the solemn suspicion only a 7-year-old could make seem like a challenge. Emily rested one hand on her son's shoulder, feeling the tension beneath his blue school jacket. Alex still had not answered him. His silver-gray eyes moved from Noah to Emily and back again, as though his mind were trying to solve an equation his heart had already understood. "My name is Alexander," he finally said. His voice was softer than Emily expected. Noah frowned. "My mom called you Your Majesty." Emily closed her eyes for half a second. Of course he had heard that. Noah heard everything. Alex glanced at her. "People call me that sometimes." "Why?" "Because I am the Alpha King." Noah considered this with remarkable calm. "That sounds important." Something almost broke through Alex's expression. "Some days." Emily gently turned Noah toward her. "Mrs. Bennett is at the bakery. I want you to go wait with her." Noah looked from his mother to Alex. "Are you okay?" "I am fine." His eyebrows lifted. Emily nearly sighed. Her son had inherited her habit of noticing lies, even harmless ones. "I will be fine," she corrected. Noah leaned closer and whispered, though clearly not quietly enough for either wolf to miss it. "I do not think you like him." Alex's jaw tightened. Emily could not tell whether he was hurt or trying not to smile. "Go on, sweetheart." Noah hesitated before walking toward Main Street. He looked back twice. Alex watched him until he disappeared around the corner. Then the alley seemed too quiet. How old is he? Alex asked. Emily had known the question was coming. She had imagined it in 100 different forms during the years when she still wondered whether she would ever see him again. None of those imagined moments prepared her for the sound of his voice now. We are not doing this in an alley. Emily, you disappeared, and you were gone when I came back. She stared at him. You told me not to look for you. I never wrote that. The certainty in his voice chilled her. Emily remembered the folded paper beside the ring. Morning changes everything. Do not look for me. She could still see the handwriting. It was beside your signet. Alex's expression sharpened. My signet. The black wolf under the crescent moon. He took a slow breath. You still have it? Yes. Something complicated passed through his eyes. Relief, disbelief, then something darker that Emily could not name. That ring should never have been left with a farewell note. Yet it was. Emily, I did not leave willingly. Her anger faltered. Alex stepped closer, then stopped several feet away, as though an invisible boundary stood between them. Before dawn, members of my royal guard found the inn. There had been an emergency in the capital. I was required to return immediately. Emily remembered the howls. Someone found me. Her heartbeat changed. You could have told me. I intended to, but you did not. Because when I returned 3 days later, you were gone. Emily stared at him. Rainwater dripped from a fire escape above them in slow, steady taps. 3 days. I searched the inn, the bus station, neighboring towns. I had one name. Emily. Nothing else. His voice remained controlled, but his hands had tightened at his sides. For months, every report that mentioned an Omega named Emily came to my desk. The world beneath her memories began shifting. She did not want it to. Anger had been simpler. Anger had helped her survive. Then somebody wrote that note. Alex's gaze held hers. Yes. Emily thought of the wooden box upstairs. The paper was still inside it, folded beneath the ring. She had never thrown either away. Who? She whispered. I do not know. For the first time, Alex looked toward the street, suddenly alert. His advisors had begun appearing at the far end of the alley, but remained at a respectful distance. But someone knew where I was that night. Emily felt cold despite the afternoon sun. Alex looked back at her, and the question neither of them could avoid returned to his face. Emily. She knew what he wanted to ask. She also knew Noah deserved more than having the truth dragged into daylight between strangers and royal guards. Not here, she said. Alex was silent, then nodded. No command. No demand. That surprised her more than anything. They walked back toward Main Street separately. As they reached the bakery, Noah appeared behind the glass with a cinnamon roll in his hand. His face brightened when he saw Emily. Then his gaze shifted to Alex. At that exact moment, a delivery truck backfired somewhere down the block. Several people startled. Noah did not. Instead, his head turned toward the sound before it happened. Alex stopped walking. Emily saw recognition flash across his face. Not recognition of Noah's appearance this time. Something deeper. Noah looked back at them through the window, silver eyes bright in the afternoon light. Alex whispered so quietly that only Emily heard him. He heard it before everyone else. Emily's wolf stirred beneath her ribs. She said nothing. Alex slowly turned toward her. How old is your son? Emily did not answer until Noah was safely upstairs in their apartment with Mrs. Bennet and a second cinnamon roll he had somehow negotiated for himself. Only then did she unlock the herbal shop and step inside with Alex behind her. The bell above the door gave a soft chime. Emily turned the sign to closed, drew the front shade halfway down, and suddenly became aware that the Alpha King was standing in the little life she had built without him. His presence looked almost impossible among glass jars of chamomile and lavender. Alex said nothing. He simply waited. Emily moved behind the counter because she needed something solid between them. 7, she said. The single word seemed to change the air. Alex did not move. He turned 7 in June. His eyes closed briefly. Emily watched the calculation happen without hearing it. 7 years. 1 storm. 1 night. 1 child with silver-gray eyes. When Alex opened his eyes again, the royal distance was gone. Is Noah my son? Emily had imagined anger if this moment ever came. She had imagined accusations, commands. Perhaps the cold entitlement of a king discovering that something had been kept from him. Instead, Alex sounded almost afraid of the answer. Yes. Silence followed. Outside, tires whispered over wet pavement. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. Alex lowered his gaze to the wooden counter. His fingers rested against its edge but did not tighten. You knew? Not that night. Emily swallowed. I found out several weeks later. And you never tried to find me? The question hurt because she heard no accusation in it. Only 7 years of absence. I did not know who you were. You gave me Alex. No last name. No pack. Nothing. She met his eyes. And you left me a message telling me not to look. Alex looked away. A message I did not write. I know that now. The bell above the door suddenly chimed. One of Alex's royal aides stepped inside. Your Majesty, Mayor Collins is waiting. The boundary briefing begins in 10 minutes. Alex did not look away from Emily. Move it. The aide hesitated. The mayor has assembled the council. Alex finally turned his head. He did not raise his voice. Then the council can have coffee. The aide nodded immediately and left. Emily remembered the innkeeper 7 years earlier. Because they know better. She understood now that Alex did not need volume to command a room. Yet with her, he had asked. He had waited. You cannot rearrange an entire town because of me, she said. I just learned I have a 7-year-old son. His composure cracked for the first time. The town will survive 10 minutes. Emily almost smiled, and hated that part of her remembered how easy smiling around him had once been. Footsteps sounded on the stairs behind the shop. Noah appeared before Emily could stop him. Mom, Mrs. Bennett says I have to ask before getting another one. He noticed Alex and paused. You are still here. Noah, Emily said gently. Come here. Her son approached, but his attention remained on Alex. The king lowered himself slightly, so he was not towering over the boy. Your mother and I were talking. About me? Emily's heart stumbled. Alex glanced at her, allowing her to decide. She appreciated that more than she wanted to admit. A little, she said. Noah studied Alex for several seconds. You make her nervous. Alex accepted the observation. I think I do. Why? Because we knew each other a long time ago. Noah stepped closer to Emily. Did you make her sad? This time Alex's silence lasted longer. I think something happened that made both of us sad. Noah frowned thoughtfully. Then you should fix it. Emily nearly laughed from sheer disbelief. Alex actually smiled. I am beginning to think you might be right. A sudden commotion outside erased the smile from his face. Several royal personnel moved quickly across Main Street, while townspeople were guided away from the square. There was no panic, only urgency. Alex stood. His attention sharpened. Stay inside. Emily almost objected, then noticed Noah staring toward the ceiling. His head tilted slightly. There are people behind the shop, he said. Emily heard nothing. Alex did. His gaze snapped toward the rear entrance. Seconds later, someone knocked firmly. Noah immediately moved in front of Emily. Leave my mom alone. The words were not loud. They did not need to be. Every jar on the nearest shelf gave a faint tremble. Emily's wolf surged awake. Alex froze. His eyes widened as an invisible pressure filled the shop, ancient and commanding, yet coming from a 7-year-old boy in a blue school jacket. Noah looked confused by the sudden silence. Alex slowly lowered himself to one knee in front of him. Not as a king, not as an alpha, as a man staring at something he had believed impossible. Noah, he whispered. The boy held Emily's hand tighter. Alex's silver-gray eyes lifted to hers, filled with certainty now. That was an alpha command. Noah looked down at his sneakers as if he expected to find the answer written across them. What is an alpha command? He asked. Emily could barely speak. The strange pressure that had filled the shop was already fading, but her wolf remained completely awake, pacing beneath her heartbeat with an awareness Emily had never felt before. Alex stayed on one knee, keeping himself at Noah's eye level. It is something very rare, he said carefully. Something some wolves can do when they need others. To listen. Noah frowned. I was not trying to do anything. I know. Another knock came from the rear door, followed by a familiar voice. Your Majesty, it is Daniel Mercer. Everything is secure. Alex's shoulders relaxed slightly. Come in. The door opened, and a broad-shouldered man in a dark royal coat entered with his hands clearly visible. His gaze moved from Alex to Emily, then to Noah. The moment Daniel looked directly at the boy, he stopped. Emily saw recognition pass over his face. Not because Daniel knew Noah, because he knew those eyes. Daniel, Alex said quietly. The warning was gentle but unmistakable. Daniel immediately lowered his gaze. My apologies. Noah leaned toward Emily. Why did he do that? Emily wished she had an answer simple enough for a 7-year-old. Alex rose slowly. Because people sometimes behave strangely around my family. Noah considered that. Your family sounds complicated. Daniel made a sound suspiciously close to a cough. Emily pressed her lips together. Even Alex's expression softened. Then Daniel approached and spoke quietly. The disturbance behind the building was only a communications team checking the service alley. No threat. The boundary reports can wait. Thank you. Daniel nodded and left again. Emily watched the rear door close. No threat, she repeated. Then why are you looking like something is wrong? Alex turned toward Noah. Because what just happened should not be possible yet. Emily felt cold. Explain. Most alpha abilities develop gradually. Instinct first. Enhanced senses. Stronger awareness of other wolves. Command comes much later, after maturity and training. His gaze returned to Noah. A child his age should not be able to project authority strongly enough for adults to feel it. Noah's face changed. Is something wrong with me? Emily moved instantly, kneeling beside him and taking both his hands. No, nothing is wrong with you. Alex lowered himself beside them. Your mother is right. Noah searched his face. Then why can I do it? Alex hesitated. Emily saw the king disappear again, leaving only a man confronted with a son he had met less than an hour ago. Because you inherited something unusual. Noah glanced at Emily. From Mom. Emily's throat tightened. Alex did not answer for her. He waited. That small act of restraint gave her the courage she needed. Noah, there are things about your father I have not been able to tell you because I did not know the whole truth myself. Noah became very still. You know who my dad is? Yes. Does he know me? Emily looked at Alex. 7 years seemed to stand between them like a locked door. He only found out today. Noah followed her gaze. Understanding arrived slowly across his young face. He looked at Alex, then at Emily, then back again. His eyes widened. You? Alex inhaled quietly. Yes. Noah said nothing. Emily prepared herself for confusion, anger, perhaps tears. Instead, her son asked the question only Noah would think to ask. Did you know my birthday? Pain crossed Alex's face before he could hide it. No. Did you know my name? No. Noah looked down. Alex continued softly. But if I had known you existed, I would have wanted to know every birthday. Every favorite book. Every time you lost a tooth. Everything. Noah's fingers tightened around Emily's hand. Mom said my dad was far away. She was telling you the truth. Were you? The question landed harder than any accusation. Alex remained silent for a moment. I was far away, and I did not know how to find your mother. Noah studied him with the serious silver-gray gaze that looked suddenly older than 7. Then he stepped closer. Not into Alex's arms. Not yet. Just closer. My favorite color is green, he said. Alex blinked. Green. And I hate peas. A fragile smile appeared on Alex's face. That seems important. It is. Emily felt something inside her loosen. Then Noah suddenly rubbed his left wrist. His expression pinched. It is warm again. Emily's relief vanished. What is warm? The mark. Alex's head lifted sharply. Emily pulled back Noah's sleeve. Around his wrist was the faint crescent-shaped birthmark she had seen since infancy. She had never considered it unusual. But now, beneath the shop lights, thin silver lines were spreading outward from it like delicate threads of moonlight. Alex stared at the pattern. His face lost all color. Emily, he whispered, that is not a birthmark. Emily stared at the silver threads around Noah's wrist until the herbal shop seemed to disappear around her. Then what is it? She asked. Alex did not answer immediately. He moved closer, but stopped before touching Noah. May I see your hand? Noah looked at Emily first. She nodded. Only then did he extend his arm. Alex turned the boy's wrist gently toward the light. The silver lines brightened for a moment, then faded until only the familiar crescent remained. It is a royal seal, Alex said. Emily felt her stomach drop. A seal. An old one. It was used generations ago to suppress inherited alpha abilities until a young heir was old enough to control them. Noah blinked. So it is like a lock? Alex looked at him with quiet surprise. Exactly like a lock. Then why is mine opening? Alex's gaze shifted to Emily. I do not know. That answer frightened her more than certainty would have. Emily had spent 7 years watching Noah grow. She remembered every fever, every scraped knee, Every night he crawled into her bed during thunderstorms. The crescent had been there since infancy. He was born with it. Alex went still. You are certain? I noticed it the first day I held him. Alex slowly released Noah's wrist. Something troubled moved behind his eyes. Royal seals are not inherited naturally. Emily understood before he finished. Someone placed it on him. Noah looked between them. Who? Emily immediately crouched beside him. We do not know, sweetheart. Did I do something wrong? Never. She brushed his hair back. You did absolutely nothing wrong. Alex lowered himself beside them again. Noah, this is something adults should have understood sooner. None of it belongs on your shoulders. Noah studied him, then nodded. Okay. Emily wished trust could come that easily to adults. Mrs. Bennet appeared at the stairway door and offered to take Noah upstairs for hot chocolate. This time Noah agreed, though he made Emily promise to come up soon. When the door closed behind him, silence returned. Emily faced Alex. Tell me everything. Alex exhaled slowly. I cannot. Not yet. There are pieces I do not understand. Then tell me what you do understand. His eyes settled on hers. Noah carries my bloodline strongly enough to produce an alpha command at 7 years old. Someone apparently knew that could happen and sealed part of his ability when he was an infant. Emily's hands turned cold. Nobody knew who his father was. Someone did. The words landed softly and changed everything. Emily thought of the clinic where Noah had been born, the nurses, the small apartment, the ordinary people who had passed through those first exhausted weeks. Nothing had ever seemed unusual. Then another memory surfaced. The note. Alex nodded. And my ring. Emily looked toward the ceiling. The wooden box was upstairs, tucked behind winter blankets in her bedroom closet. I kept both. Alex's expression changed. Can I see them? Minutes later, Emily returned carrying the box she had not opened in almost 3 years. Noah remained with Mrs. Bennet in the kitchen. Alex stood beside the counter while Emily placed the box between them. Her fingers hesitated over the lid. 7 years lived inside something small enough to hold in 2 hands. She opened it. The silver signet rested exactly where she remembered. Beneath it lay the folded note. Alex reached for neither. You read this that morning? Yes. And believed I wrote it. Emily looked at him. What else was I supposed to believe? Pain crossed his face. That I came back. Her throat tightened. You keep saying that. Because I need you to understand it. His voice remained quiet. I returned 3 days later. Your room was empty. The innkeeper said you boarded a bus heading west. I had people searching transportation records and pack registries for months. Emily stared at him. Why? The question escaped before she could stop it. Alex looked almost stunned. Because I could not forget you. For a moment, neither moved. Emily's anger, carefully preserved for 7 years, suddenly had nowhere certain to stand. Alex finally picked up the note by its edges and studied the handwriting. His expression sharpened. This is not mine. I know that now. No. He looked at her. Emily, I recognized this handwriting. Her heartbeat stumbled. Whose is it? Alex folded the paper slowly. A man who served in the royal household 7 years ago. Why would he care about us? That is what I intend to find out. Emily glanced upstairs toward Noah. And the seal? If the same person knew about you, he may have known about Noah. The thought made the room feel suddenly smaller. Alex placed the note beside the ring. Emily looked at the man she had once believed abandoned her and saw something she had not expected. Regret. Not because he had been discovered, but because 7 years could not be returned. You really came back, she whispered. Alex held her gaze. Emily, I never chose to leave you. Upstairs, Noah laughed at something Mrs. Bennet said, the bright sound drifting through the ceiling. Alex closed his eyes for one brief second. When he opened them, they shone with 7 years of understanding arriving too late. And if I had known about him, he said softly, nothing in this world could have kept me from finding my son. Emily had imagined this moment differently during the loneliest years. In some versions, she demanded an apology. In others, Alex arrived too late, and she simply walked away. She had never imagined standing inside her little herbal shop while their 7-year-old son drank hot chocolate upstairs, and the Alpha King looked at her as if the missing years had become a weight he could finally feel. You cannot get them back, Emily said softly. Alex lowered his eyes. I know. There was no argument, no royal certainty, no promise powerful enough to undo time. That mattered to her. You missed his first word. His first day of school. The night he lost his first tooth and stayed awake because he thought the tooth fairy might get lost. A faint sadness touched Alex's face. What was his first word? Emily hesitated. Moon. Alex looked toward the ceiling, where Noah's footsteps crossed the apartment above them. Of course it was. Emily almost smiled. Almost. I am not telling you these things to punish you. I know. I am telling you because Noah has a life here. He has friends. A school. Mrs. Bennet makes him cinnamon rolls. Every Friday. He knows which neighbors need help carrying groceries. He thinks the biggest crisis in the world is when the library does not have the next book in his favorite series. Alex nodded slowly. And I will not take any of that from him. Emily stared at him. You are the Alpha King. Yes. Noah may be your heir. Yes. People will expect you to take him to the capital. People expect many things from me. His gaze met hers. They do not get to decide this. Emily had prepared herself for a struggle over Noah from the moment Alex recognized those silver-gray eyes. Instead, he was giving her the one thing powerful wolves had rarely given her. Choice. I will not take him from you, Alex said. And I will not order either of you into my life. Something in Emily's chest loosened. Then what do you want? Alex looked upstairs again. A chance. One word. No command behind it. I want to learn who my son is. I want him to decide what he calls me and whether he trusts me. I want to know why someone interfered with his abilities and why someone made you believe I abandoned you. He paused. And if you allow it, I want to know who you became while I was gone. Emily looked away because that last sentence reached somewhere she had carefully protected. Before she could answer, Noah came down the stairs carrying 3 mugs. Mrs. Bennet followed behind him with an expression suggesting she knew enough not to ask questions. I made one for him, Noah announced. He handed Alex a mug. It has marshmallows. Alex accepted it with both hands as though Noah had presented him with something priceless. Thank you. Noah climbed onto a stool beside the counter. Mom says hot chocolate helps serious conversations. Emily glanced at Mrs. Bennet. The older woman smiled innocently and returned upstairs. Noah studied Alex. If you are my dad, do I have to move into a castle? Emily nearly choked on her drink. Alex remained impressively serious. Only if you want to. Does it have Wi-Fi? Very good Wi-Fi. Noah nodded thoughtfully. That helps. Emily laughed before she could stop herself. Alex looked at her, and for one brief moment the years between them seemed thinner. Noah lifted his left wrist. The crescent mark had faded again. What about this? Alex set down his mug. I have people who understand old royal seals. But nobody examines it unless your mother agrees, and unless you agree. Noah looked surprised. I get to choose? Always, when it concerns you. The boy considered that, then extended his hand. You can look again. Alex moved closer and knelt beside him. He did not touch the mark immediately. Ready? Noah nodded. Alex gently placed 2 fingers near the crescent. The reaction was instant. Silver light traced the mark, brighter than before. Noah gasped, but not in pain. Emily stepped forward. Noah, it feels warm. Alex's face changed. Beneath the crescent, another shape slowly appeared, so faint Emily wondered whether she imagined it. A tiny black wolf surrounded by a circle of silver. Alex pulled his hand away. The symbol remained. Noah stared at it with wide eyes. Is that yours? Alex looked shaken. It is my family crest. Emily's heartbeat accelerated. Then the seal recognized you. No. Alex's voice dropped. It recognized my blood. Noah looked between them. Is that bad? Alex immediately softened. No, but it tells us something important. Emily waited. Alex rose, his attention fixed on the mark. This seal was designed specifically for him. Whoever placed it knew exactly whose son Noah was. The warmth vanished from Emily's hands. 7 years ago, she had believed the secret belonged only to her and a stranger named Alex. Now she understood the truth. Someone else had known from the beginning. For several seconds, nobody spoke. The tiny black wolf remained visible beneath the silver crescent on Noah's wrist, delicate as ink beneath glass, while afternoon light stretched across the shop floor. Emily could hear the old clock above the shelves ticking steadily, each second suddenly louder than the last. 7 years ago, she had believed only 2 people knew what happened during that stormy night. Then she had discovered she was carrying Noah and believed the secret belonged to her alone. Now a forged farewell note, a royal signet deliberately left behind, and the mysterious seal on her son's wrist told a different story. Someone had been watching long before Emily understood there was anything worth hiding. "Mom." Noah's voice brought her back. She immediately crouched beside him. "I am right here. You are doing the thinking thing again." Emily managed a small smile. "I guess I am." Noah looked at the mark. "Do I have to be scared of it?" "No," Alex answered gently. Emily glanced at him. He was no longer studying the symbol like a king confronting a royal mystery. He was watching Noah like a father trying to choose every word carefully. "We are going to understand it," he continued. "But we do it together, and nobody makes decisions about you without you." Noah nodded. "Together sounds better." Alex smiled faintly. "I think so too." Noah looked down at Alex's hand, then slowly offered his own. The gesture was so simple that Emily almost missed what it meant. Alex did not. He stared at that small hand for a heartbeat before accepting it. The moment their palms touched, the silver mark glowed once, softly, then settled into stillness. Noah's wolfish senses seemed to quiet with it. He looked up. "So what do I call you?" Alex's expression changed. "Whatever feels right." "Your Majesty sounds weird." Emily covered a laugh with her hand. "I agree," Alex said. Noah thought seriously. "Can I start with Alex?" The Alpha King, a man entire packs addressed by title, looked almost relieved. "I would like that." Emily felt her chest tighten. This was not how she had imagined Noah meeting his father. There were no grand declarations. No instant family created by blood. Just a 7-year-old boy choosing a name, and a powerful man accepting that trust had to begin small. Outside, the royal convoy still waited. Alex's advisors stood across the street, but nobody entered. For once, the world was waiting for Emily rather than demanding that she hurry to meet it. "What happens now?" she asked. Alex rose. "Now I investigate the handwriting and the seal." His eyes moved to the folded note. "The man who wrote this was named Charles Vane. He served as an assistant to my royal secretary 7 years ago. He disappeared from service less than 2 months after that." Night. Emily's skin prickled, and nobody questioned it. There was political turmoil in the capital. People resigned. Staff changed. At the time, his departure meant nothing. Alex looked at Noah. "Now it means something." Emily folded her arms. "You are not taking Noah anywhere." "I know. And royal investigators do not turn his life upside down." "Agreed." His immediate answer surprised her. "I will bring the investigation here if necessary. Cedar Falls remains his home until you and Noah decide otherwise." Emily searched his face for the hidden condition. There was none. 7 years earlier, she had met a man who possessed enough power to command everyone around him, and yet had spent an entire night asking rather than taking. Perhaps that part of him had been real after all. Noah tugged Alex's sleeve. "Are you leaving now?" Alex looked down. "I have a meeting I have delayed long enough." "Will you come back?" The question struck Emily with painful familiarity. 7 years ago, she had fallen asleep wondering the same thing. Alex seemed to remember too. His eyes met hers over Noah's head. "Yes," he said. "This time, I will tell you before I go, and I will tell you when I am coming back." Noah nodded, satisfied. Emily was not ready to forgive 7 lost years, especially now that she understood they might have been stolen rather than abandoned. But forgiveness no longer felt like the question. Truth did. Alex reached the door, then stopped. "Emily." She looked at him. The seal did not weaken because Noah used his alpha command. His expression had become serious again. "It weakened when I arrived in Cedar Falls." Emily felt her wolf stir. "What does that mean?" Alex looked at Noah's wrist. "Whoever created it designed the seal to recognize my presence." The bell above the door chimed as he stepped outside. Emily remained motionless. Noah slipped his hand into hers. Then the crescent on his wrist glowed again, and beneath it appeared something neither of them had seen before. 3 tiny letters formed inside the silver circle. Emily leaned closer. Her breath stopped. They were initials. CV. Charles Vane. Noah looked up at her. "Mom, who is that?" Emily tightened her hand around his. 7 years of questions had finally given them a name. But somewhere beyond Cedar Falls, one question remained unanswered. Why had Charles Vane wanted the Alpha King's son hidden from his own power? And what would happen now that the seal was beginning to break? Thank you so much for watching and sharing this journey with Emily, Noah, and Alex. Tell us in the comments what you think Charles Vane was trying to hide. And if this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. and help us bring you more stories like this.